Close your eyes and think of a great scientist you admire. Next, think of an everyday nurse in a hospital. Now open your eyes. Dear STEM enthusiasts and my fellow friends, through the first test, whether you imagined Sir Isaac Newton or Albert Einstein, most of us would have imagined a man as a scientist, and that also a white man. Although we are from Asia, where many notable scientists were born, right? Now that you are aware that racial bias and male bias exists in STEM, is that it? Well, let's move on to the next test. When told to think of a nurse, most of us would have imagined a female nurse. Am I right? By the way, why nursing? Because nursing is also indirectly connected to STEM education. Hence, this evidences that stereotyping and prejudice against men and female bias also exists in STEM education. These biases hinder the beauty of equity in STEM education. And the seeds of such biases are sown at a tender age. When I was little, a teacher once told me that girls were good at memorizing and boys were good at thinking. Thoughts that were injected in our young minds like this have a snowball effect, because this was visible in our A-level maths classes. When a teacher asked all the biology students to raise their hands, almost all the girls raised their hands. Whereas when the combined math students were asked to raise their hands, almost all the boys raised their hands. This gender imbalance progresses towards university too. In our engineering faculty, very often I have noticed only boys raising questions during lectures. Hearing a girl's voice in a lecture, especially with the name Fathima in front, was almost rare. So does this lack of diversity affect us? Indeed, because technology and innovation that is produced in such an environment is less fair and less inclusive. For example, the facial recognition technology was developed by white men alone. So researchers say that it falsely identifies black and Asian faces more than white faces, and falsely identifies women's faces more than men's faces due to the algorithmic bias. This cements the fact that the essence of equity in STEM education lies in diversity. And diversity is not just about having women around the table, but rather having people of diverse races, sexualities, disabilities, ages and financial backgrounds around the table as well. Because socially diverse groups are better at solving problems because they think differently and have deeper discussions. Therefore, let's embrace diversity and diminish biases in order to nurture equity in STEM education for a better tomorrow.